Most people remember The Hobbit as a charming children's story, a lighter, softer prequel to The Lord of the Rings. But that is a deception. Underneath the songs and the whimsical dwarves, this is actually a brutal study on greed, corruption, and the trauma of war. It isn't just about killing a dragon. It's about what happens when you win the gold, but lose your soul. Here is the full story of Bilbo Baggins. In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit. It sounds simple enough, doesn't it? But that single sentence, written on a blank page by a bored professor marking exam papers, started a mythology that would redefine fantasy forever. This isn't just a children's story or a prelude to a bigger war. It is a study of comfort versus courage, and how the smallest person can alter the fate of the world not through strength, but through simple decency. We start in the Shire. It is a place of aggressive normalcy. The protagonist, Bilbo Baggins, is a man, well, a hobbit, of routine. He likes his 6 meals a day, he likes his pocket handkerchiefs, and he absolutely detests adventures. Adventures make you late for dinner. They are nasty, disturbing, uncomfortable things. Bilbo represents the part of us that just wants to be left alone to enjoy the quiet life. He is respectable. In the Shire, being respectable means you never do anything unexpected. But Bilbo has a secret. On his mother's side, he is a Took. The Tooks were a family known for being a bit un-Hobbit-like. They went on adventures. They had a streak of wildness. So inside this middle-aged, comfortable bachelor, there is a tiny war being waged between the Baggins side, which wants safety, and the Took side, which wonders what lies beyond the hill. One morning, a wizard named Gandalf arrives. He's not the all-powerful white wizard yet. Here, he is a wandering figure, a meddler in the affairs of others. He is looking for someone to share in an adventure. Bilbo politely declines, trying to get back to his pipe, but Gandalf marks the door with a secret sign. That evening, the chaos begins. It doesn't start with an army or a dragon, but with a doorbell. First, one dwarf arrives, then 2, then more, until 13 dwarves act as if they own Bilbo's house. They eat his food, drink his ale, and sing somber songs about gold and mountains. This is Thorin Oakenshield and his company. They are in exile. Their home, the Lonely Mountain, was taken long ago by a dragon named Smaug. They intend to go back and steal their treasure. This is where the story makes an interesting point about greed and heritage. The dwarves aren't trying to save the world. They aren't trying to defeat evil for the sake of good. They just want their gold back. Their motivation is intensely personal and material. Gandalf has volunteered Bilbo to be their burglar. The dwarves are skeptical. Bilbo looks like a grocer, not a thief, but Gandalf insists there is more to the Hobbit than meets the eye. Bilbo wakes up the next morning to a quiet house and almost believes it was a bad dream. But the Took side wins out. He runs out the door without his hat or his handkerchief, plunging into the wild. The journey begins not with glory, but with wet weather and bad moods. They encounter 3 trolls, Tom, Bert, and William. This scene is often played for laughs, and it is funny, but it serves a purpose. It shows us that Bilbo is completely out of his depth. He tries to pick a troll's pocket to prove his worth as a burglar and gets caught immediately. The dwarves try to fight and get captured in sacks. They are seconds away from being cooked and eaten. It's not Bilbo who saves them, and it's not Thorin's sword. It's Gandalf, who tricks the trolls into arguing until the sun comes up, turning them to stone. The lesson here is clear. Brute force fails where wit succeeds. But it also highlights that Bilbo isn't a hero yet, he's a liability. They find the trolls' hoard, including 2 elven swords, Orcrist and Glamdring, and a small dagger for Bilbo which he names Sting. It's a significant moment. Giving a weapon a name is a rite of passage. It legitimizes him as an adventurer. They move on to Rivendell, the last homely house. Here we meet Elrond. The elves represent a higher perspective, a connection to ancient history that the dwarves and hobbits lack. Elrond reads the moon letters on Thorin's map, revealing that the secret door into the mountain can only be opened on Durin's Day. It's a narrow window of opportunity. This adds a ticking clock to their quest. They aren't just walking, they are racing against time. Leaving the safety of Rivendell, they cross the misty mountains. This is the threshold. Once you cross the mountains, you leave the known world behind. They take shelter in a cave during a storm, which turns out to be the front porch of a goblin town. They are captured again. The goblins are the industrial nightmare of Tolkien's world, cruel, inventive, and destructive. They hate anything beautiful. In the chaos of the escape, Bilbo is separated from the group. He falls into the dark, and here, in the roots of the mountains, the entire history of Middle-earth pivots on a single, lucky accident. Bilbo puts his hand on the ground and finds a ring. A simple gold ring. He puts it in his pocket without thinking. He then encounters Gollum. Gollum is a wretched creature, obsessed with his precious, living on raw fish and goblin meat. He and Bilbo engage in a riddle game. This is ancient combat, a battle of wits rather than swords. If Bilbo wins, Gollum shows him the way out. If Bilbo loses, Gollum eats him. Bilbo holds his own, but he wins by accident. He asks, "What have I got in my pocket?" It's not a riddle, but Gollum accepts it. He gets 3 guesses and fails. Enraged, Gollum realizes his ring is gone. The very ring Bilbo found. He attacks. Bilbo slips the ring on and discovers it makes him invisible. This is the moment of truth. Bilbo has an invisible advantage. He stands behind Gollum, sword drawn. He could kill him easily. Gollum is disgusting, dangerous, and stands between Bilbo and freedom. But Bilbo hesitates. He feels a sudden wave of pity and horror. He understands the endless misery of Gollum's life. He jumps over him instead of striking him down. That act of mercy is the most important event in the book. Gandalf later says that the pity of Bilbo may rule the fate of many. If Bilbo had killed Gollum, the ring would have consumed him, and the War of the Ring decades later would have ended very differently. It suggests that true strength isn't about dominance, it's about restraint. Bilbo escapes and rejoins the dwarves, who are surprised to see him. He doesn't tell them about the ring yet. He gains a new respect in their eyes. He's not just baggage anymore. He's the guy who escaped the goblin tunnels alone. But they aren't safe. They are chased into trees by wargs, evil, intelligent wolves, and goblins. Fire is set to the trees. It looks like the end. This sequence reinforces that the world is actively hostile. Nature here isn't a backdrop. It's a participant. The eagles arrive to save them, swooping down to carry them to safety. It's a majestic intervention, but it also reminds us that the company is small and helpless against the greater powers of the world. They are just pawns on a very large board. This brings us to the end of the first leg of the journey. They have survived trolls, goblins, and wolves. Bilbo has found a magic ring and spared a monster. He is no longer the hobbit who forgot his handkerchief. He is beginning to understand that the world is wider and darker than he ever imagined, and that he has a part to play in it. But the hardest part is yet to come. The dragon is waiting. The company of Thorin Oakenshield has survived the Misty Mountains, but they are tired, hungry, and without supplies. They are carried by the eagles to the Carrick, a great rock in the Riverlands. Here, Gandalf introduces them to Beorn. Beorn is a skin changer. He is a man who can become a great bear. He is a fascinating character because he represents the untamed, neutral force of nature. He hates goblins, which makes him an ally, but he is not safe. He is dangerous and unpredictable. He hosts the dwarves not because he loves them, but because they share a common enemy. This reinforces a recurring theme. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, at least for a night. Beorn warns them about Mirkwood, the great forest they must cross. He tells them strictly, "Do not leave the path. If you leave the path, you will never find it again." At the edge of Mirkwood, Gandalf leaves them. He has other business, implied to be the necromancer in the south, a subtle hint at the return of Sauron, though in this story, it's just a reason to leave the heroes on their own. This is crucial for the narrative. If Gandalf stays, he solves all the problems. For Bilbo to grow, the mentor must vanish. Mirkwood is a psychological ordeal. It is dark, suffocating, and timeless. The air is heavy. The stream is enchanted with forgetfulness. They begin to starve. They see lights in the forest, wood elves feasting, but every time they step off the path to approach, the lights vanish and they are plunged into darkness. This breaks their spirit. In their desperation, they lose the path exactly as Bjorn warned. Then come the spiders, giant, intelligent, speaking spiders. They capture the dwarves, wrapping them in silk. Bilbo, invisible thanks to his ring, realizes he is the only hope. This is his transition from a follower to a leader. He throws stones, mocks the spiders to draw them away, and kills them with his sword, Sting. He frees his friends. The dwarves, seeing this grocer-turned-warrior rescue them, finally treat him with genuine reverence. He isn't just a hired burglar, he is their savior. However, they are immediately captured by the Wood Elves. The Elven King, Thranduil, locks the dwarves in his dungeons because they refuse to state their business. The ancient feud between elves and dwarves boils down to greed and old grudges over treasure. Bilbo, invisible, roams the halls for weeks. He formulates a plan. It's not a warrior's plan, it's a burglar's plan. He packs the dwarves into empty wine barrels and floats them down the river to Lake Town. It is undignified, wet, and miserable. But it works. They arrive at Lake Town, a human settlement built on the water near the Lonely Mountain. The people there remember the prophecies of the king under the mountain, returning to bring gold flowing like rivers. They treat Thorin like a returning monarch. Thorin begins to act like one too. The closer he gets to the gold, the more haughty and obsessed he becomes. They finally reach the Lonely Mountain. They find the secret door, but it won't open. They bang on it, break tools on it, and despair. It is Bilbo who remembers the riddle. He watches for the thrush, waits for the last light of Durin's day, and points out the keyhole. Thorin opens the door. Now comes the descent. Bilbo has to go down alone to the dragon's lair. This is the heart of the quest. Smaug is sleeping on a pile of gold so vast it is incomprehensible. Bilbo steals a single two-handled cup. This act wakes the dragon. Smaug is not just a beast, he is a personality. When Bilbo returns later to talk to him, we get a chilling conversation. Smaug is intelligent, hypnotic, and incredibly arrogant. He smells the Hobbit but cannot see him. Bilbo speaks in riddles to hide his identity. Smaug plants seeds of doubt in Bilbo's mind, suggesting the dwarves are just using him and will never pay him his share. This is dragon sickness, the corrupting power of greed and suspicion. Smaug, realizing the people of Lake Town must have helped the intruder, flies off to destroy them. The dwarves are trapped inside the mountain. In Lake Town, it is fire and ruin. Smaug burns the town. But Bard, a grim guardsman descended from the old lords of Dale, stands his ground. A thrush, who heard Bilbo speaking about Smaug's weak spot, whispers to Bard. Bard fires his black arrow and hits the hollow in the dragon's armor. Smaug falls from the sky, crushing the town. The dragon is dead. You might think the story ends here. The beast is slain. The treasure is reclaimed. But Tolkien pulls a brilliant switch. The death of the dragon doesn't solve the problem. It creates a political crisis. The people of Lake Town want compensation for their destroyed homes. The Wood Elves want a share of the treasure. They march on the mountain. Thorin, now barricaded inside, falls completely to dragon sickness. He refuses to share a single coin. He sends for his cousin Dain from the Iron Hills to bring an army of dwarves. We are poised for a war between good people. Elves, men, and dwarves are about to kill each other over gold. This is the tragedy of victory. Bilbo sees the madness. He takes the Arkenstone, the heart of the mountain, the gem Thorin values above all else, and sneaks out. He gives it to Bard and the Elven King. He betrays his employer to prevent a war. He tells them to use it as a bargaining chip. When Thorin finds out, he nearly throws Bilbo from the ramparts. He is consumed by greed. Just as the armies of dwarves, men, and elves collide, a massive storm of bats and goblins arrives. The goblins of the Misty Mountains have come to claim the treasure for themselves. This is the battle of 5 armies. Suddenly, the squabbles over gold don't matter. It is a fight for survival. Dwarves, men, and elves must unite. The eagles arrive and then Bjorn, in bear form, crashing through the goblin ranks. Bilbo, true to his nature, gets knocked out early and misses most of the fight. He wakes up when it is over. The battle is won, but the cost is high. Thorin is dying. In his final moments, the madness of the gold leaves him. He calls for Bilbo. He says, "If more of us valued food and cheer and song above hoarded gold, it would be a merrier world." He dies as a king, not in power, but in wisdom. This reconciles the two sides of the story, the heroic and the humble. The treasure is divided. Bard rebuilds Dale, the Elven King gets his gems. Bilbo takes only 2 small chests of gold and silver, thinking that is all he can carry. He travels back home with Gandalf. When he returns to the Shire, he finds his relatives auctioning off his furniture. They presumed he was dead. He has to buy back his own spoons. He has lost his reputation. He is no longer respectable. The neighbors think he is odd. But Bilbo doesn't care. He sits in his armchair, the kettle whistling. He is the same hobbit, yet entirely different. He has looked into the eyes of a dragon and the heart of a corrupt king. He has held the ring of power in his pocket. He writes his memoirs, there and back again. The story closes not on a throne, but in a study. The point of The Hobbit isn't that Bilbo became a great warrior. It's that he went out into the great, terrifying world and remained a hobbit. He kept his decency. And in a world of wizards and wars, staying true to who you are is the greatest adventure of all.